Welcome to another tutorial. My name is Devon McNeil and I'm about to show you how to set up a web server using Apache. So first we need to install Apache on our computer, and we can do so by going over to the Apache Launch website. After we type up Apache Launch and click search, we're going to go over to downloads, wait for the page to load, and we're going to download two things off this website. Firstly, I'm running on Windows 64-bit, Windows 7 64-bit, so I need to download the 64-bit version. If you're running a 32-bit, well, you need to also download the required version for your computer. So I'm going to download the Visual C++ redistributable 64-bit. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to let it download. If you're running a 32-bit, you will have to click on 86. My next step is to go over to Apache 2.4.43 Windows 64. Also, it have Windows 32 here if you're running a 32-bit. So I'm going to download this zip file. Our next step is to go over to noip.com. If you don't have an account with noip.com, you can click sign up, and they will ask you a series of questions. It's simply just like creating a new email, and they also will send you a link to your email to activate your account. So next, we're going over to login. Since I already have an account, my information is here by default, so I'm just going to click login. Going to wait for the page to load. And the next step, we need to create a host name. We can create a host name two ways on this website. We can go over to quick add and type in our host name and domain. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going through the longer step. So I'm going to click active. I'm going to click on active. And I'm going to click on create host name. I'm going to type in a host name. I'm going to give this host name Devon Web. I'm going to leave my domain by default. However, you can select one you prefer. But I'm going to leave this domain by default. I'm also going to leave my record type by default DNS host A. As you can see, my IP version 4 is already in this text field. However, the site does this by the site picks up your public IP address and puts it into this field, this text box anyway. But if you want to double check, you can go over to a new tab, type in what is my IP, and as you can see, this is my public IP address, and you can copy it and you can paste it into this folder, this text field right here. As you can see, it's the same. So I'm not going to change it. So I'm just going to click create hostname. The next thing we need to download is our dynamic update client. To do that, we're going over to dynamic update client. We're going to select Windows. If you're running a Mac, you can select Mac. If you're running Linux, you can select Linux. I'm going over to download. I'm going to let it download. So first, let's go over to our Visual C++ redistributable. So we're going to click on it. We're going to click run. Wait for it to load. And as you can see, I'm already have this software on my computer setup. However, if you don't have it set up on your computer, you'll be asked with a series of next questions. So you just need to click next, and then they will ask you to restart your computer. And when you restart your computer, this is the software being installed into your computer. So I'm going to click on close. I'm going to click yes. We're just going to cancel this. And I'm going over to the zip folder that we just downloaded from Apache Launch. This is the folder with Apache. So I'm going to X this off, that open up here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to extract this folder over to our C drive. And I'm going to click on OK. I already have it extract onto my C drive. However, you need to click on OK. So I'm going to click cancel. And I'm going to close this window. My next step is to go over to my dynamic update client. To do so, we just now downloaded. So we're going to click on it. We're going to click on yes. We're going to click on I agree. Install. Wait for it to load. I'm going to click on finish. See how simple? Next, we'll be prompted with a dialog box my computer is sticking a little bit, so we just give it a few seconds. 1, 2, 3, right. Now we're going to be prompt with this dialog box. This dialog box basically is to sign in. So I'm going to sign in with my credential from no IP. Great. Wait for it to load. I'm going to select my host, which was Devon Web that we just created. So I'm going to click on save. And what this does, basically your ISP or internet provider, internet service provider, basically change your IP address once in a while. So when you change your IP address, you need the IP address to also match the IP address of your host website you're hosting. So what this does, every 5 seconds, as you can see, every 5 minutes, this updates your website or your web server with your new IP address. Or it does a check to see if it changes, and if it changes, it updates it. If it's not changed, it still updates it with the current one, which might be the same IP address, which is your public IP address. So our next step is to click close off. We're going to close this off. And next we're going over to our Apache folder located in our C drive. So I'm going over to Windows. I'm going over to the start menu. Then I'm going to click on computer. And I'm going to click on C, the C drive. And the setup is basically the same for Windows 10. So you don't need to worry since I'm on a Windows 7. And we're going over to Apache 24. Going over to conf. And I'm going to right click. And I'm going to open this with Notepad. Now you can open it with Notepad++, but I'm just choosing to open it with Notepad for the sake of the tutorial. Wait for it to load. It's going to ask you to select a program. I'm going to click on Notepad and I'm going to click OK. Just going to put this to the corner and I'm going to open this. We're going to look for this is our server root. This is located in our C drive and this is the name for it. And also we're going to check to make sure that listening on port 80 is there. I also put in listening on port 8080, but you just need to ensure that port 80 is listening on port 80. So we're going to scroll straight down till we see document root, which may be around here somewhere. It's somewhere. Look at it right here. So we will see document root right here. We're going to open a space here. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this right beneath our document root. And what this does, this is basically a tag, our virtual host tag, that allows any IP address passing through port 80. That's why I said we need to have a listening on port 80 available. Our document root, which is our folder, our Apache 24 folder. And so basically any IP address that's passing through port 80 will have access to this folder, our Apache folder. This is our Apache folder and this is the file that they will have access to. This is also our server name. Our server name is the website, is the host name that we just created. So if I go over back to dashboard and I click on to active, you can copy it here. And then you can go back over to your notepad. And paste it right into here. I'm going to wait a few seconds for you just to do that. So you're going to go over to no IP website. You're going to copy your host name. Then you're going back over to your Apache folder, your Apache notepad. And we're going over to here and paste. Basically what this is my public IP address. And all I did is just copy the same information and paste it over here, but just with my public IP address. However, this is kind of redundant since I have star, which will accept almost any IP address that's passing through the port 80. So this is not necessary, but for the sake of the tutorial, I just decided to have it here. So I'm going to click on to save. I'm going to close this off. I'm going to close this off. Next, we need to install Apache. To install Apache onto your computer, although the folder is already there, you need to install the application itself. So we're going over to the start menu. We're going to type in CMD. Next, we're going to right click and run as administrator. Wait for it to load. We're going to click on to yes. Our next step is to type in cd/, then you're going to type in cd Apache, this is the name of our folder, Apache 24/bin. Next, we're going to type in httpd space / not slash dash k space install. I already have this program installed, so I'm not going to click enter, but you will need to click enter. To uninstall, you just need to type uninstall, go through the same cd/cd Apache 24/bin, then you're going to type httpd -k uninstall. And to restart, you just need to type in, well, close this, delete this, and type restart, right? So I'm not going to click enter, but you need to click enter. After you click enter, you're supposed to notice an icon here, this icon here, or if it's not here, it may be located in here. So you can click start, you can click on it, then we're going over to Apache 2.4 and we're going to click on start. If you don't see it here or in here, you can go over to your C drive. So I'm going over to start, I'm going back over to computer, I'm going to click on C drive. Going back over to Apache 24, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going over to bin. And I'm going to double click on Apache monitor. As you can see, mine is already starting up, so I already started, so I wouldn't need to click on it, so I'm just going to click OK. But when you click on it, you will see the icon here. And as you can see, it's running right now, it's green. So we can do a quick test. So I'm going to open a new tab and I'm going to type in local host. I'm going to let it load. Oh, my bad. Local host. And as you can see, you're seeing the Apache HTML file, which is located in our Apache 24 folder. Even though you are seeing a WAMP server icon here, my WAMP server is off. As you can see, it's not running. So this is just probably from using WAMP server frequently. It's there with the cache. The cache memory is probably still there. So next we need to do some packet forwarding. First, with some port forwarding, my bad. So first we need to go over to our firewall. So we're going to type fire, and we would see Windows Firewall with advanced security. So we're going to click on that. Going to wait for it to load. Yeah, I know I need to upgrade this computer. And next we're going into inbound rules. And we're going to create a new rule. We're going over to port. We're going to click next. We're going to everything is selected by default, so we're going to leave this with TCP. And we're going to leave this by default as well. So we're going to click port 80. We're going to type port 80. I'm going to click next. I'm going to leave this by default, so I'm going to just click next again. And I'm going to click next. I'm going to give it a name, so I'll just say web server. You don't need to, the description is optional, but I'm just going to say the same thing, web server. I'm going to click on finish. I'm going to close this off now since it's here. As you can see, it's here. So I'm going to close this off. I'm going over to my CMD, my control panel, my command prompt. I'm going to right click. We can open it as administrator again if you like. and I'm going to type in ipconfig. When you type in ipconfig, you will notice you're going over to your IP version 4, and you will notice what's your IP address. So my IP address is 192.168.1.100. This is your private IP address. So I'm going to type this into my web browser right now. So I'm going to type in, let's put this in the corner here, and we'll just leave this right here so you can see it. I'm going to type in, open a new tab. So we're going to type in 192.168.1.100. When we click enter, we're supposed to see the same page. As you can see, we are seeing the same page. Let's just type it in one more time, 192.168.1.100. Right? 168.1.100. Let's ensure that it's working. Yes, it is working. So our next step is to go to our router. Now everyone's router is different. However, my router, I'm running it next. So I'm going to go to my router, which is 192.168.1.1. I'm going to click on enter. Just going to close this tab off. Next, we want to log into our router. So I'm going to log into my router. I'm going over to advanced. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going over to port forwarding. And I'm going to type in my IP address. To get your IP address, you can type in cmd and ipconfig. And we scroll up and you'll see IP version 4, IP address 192.168.1.100. And we're typing it right here. So 192.168.1.100. Our internal port is 80. I'm going to put 80 again. Our external port 80 and 80 again. Reason why I had to put 80 twice, because this router wants you to specify a range. So for example, if I take off 80 here and I try to add it, it wouldn't add because external port range. So I'm going to put 80, and 80 represent web. So I'm going to click. When on protocol now, the protocol I'm going to use is both. Even though we use TCP already for our port 80 port on our machine, we're going to leave it as both. And then I'm going to add on this router as well. This will be disabled. All you need to do is click enable. We're going over the service provider. We're going down to no IP. That's the website we're using. Username, you're going to put in your credentials, so your email and also your password for no ID, IP. And then we're going to put in also a host name. So we can simply copy our host name from across on the no IP website and go back over and paste it into here. Then click register now. After you click register now, it will open into a new browser, which is linking you back into no IP. Then it will ask you to log back in. Already log in, but you need to log out and log back in. And when you click login and log in, you go back over to your router. Then you will see connecting. Once it's connected, you can click OK. And if we copy our web host name, if we copy our host name, I'm going to click copy. And also I'm going to wait till I see this go back to connect. So as you can see, it's connected. So let's go over to a new browser. Let's paste this in. I'm going to click enter. And let's see. Oh, let's click enter. Great. So you can see we've successfully set up a Windows server, not a Windows server, a web server using Apache. Thank you for watching this tutorial. My name is Devon McNeil. Enjoy.